and welcome once again to the How Long to Beat podcast. As always, I am Rick, and I'm joined by Alex.
Hey.
And Paula.
Hello.
And also, for the first time in a long time, we've got a guest. This week, it is everyone's favourite moderator and wielder of the banhammer, Tiamat. Welcome to the show.
Hey, guys.
Our pleasure to have you on. We tried to do it. Well, I say we tried. Paula tried to do this as a little surprise, and it didn't quite happen, but you're here now, and we're very glad that we've got you. While since we've done one of these, so quick rundown of how the guest ones work. Alex, our resident Paxman, is going to do a little sort of getting to know you segment. We're then going to jump into the usual sort of beaten, retired, playing kind of thing. Then Tiamat has brought both a topic for us to talk about and a candidate for the latest episode of Guess the Game, the aim of which being guessing the guest's game. That doesn't quite work when you conjugate it round, but you get the point. And then we will finish on a points not mattering version of, say it with me, How long to beat the game.
The game.
And that has to be the best one we've ever done.
Yeah,
At least
I
on
guess.
my headphones.
It's not bad. Sounded good for me.
There you go. And with that, Alex, take us straight on in.
Yes, let us do this. So, like we always like to just kind of, learn a little bit more about our guests each time. So we have a few questions here that we're going to ask. Starting off, what part of the world do you live in, and how does that affect your gaming? Because I think you're the first, well, I'll spoil it a little bit, fellow Canadian on the podcast.
Yeah. I think so. Like you said, raised and born Canadian from the East in Quebec. So a little French guy here. You might have noticed the accent. I don't think
Deafening silence and no one dared comment on.
Yeah, no.
Oh, it's okay. My whole family has lots of French accents in it.
Yeah. So how did it affect my gaming? I don't think it affected my gaming in any specific way, since it's mostly the North American market. So whatever happened in the States, we got it here, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty much the North American market. Nothing special, I guess, except for maybe the French stuff happening later on in the early 2000, I think, where the government passed this law where we had to have the games could be released in English back then, but the boxes and manuals had to be available in French. So some of the bigger games were released a few weeks later, but that's it. Yeah.
Do you find yourself playing like most games in English, or do you like to swap around here and there? Like,
yeah, it's mostly 50-50, I'd say. It really depends on the game. Games with lots of text, I might play them in French because it feels more natural. But if it's, I don't know, if it's mostly voice acting and action and cutscenes and stuff, I might play in English. So yeah, it really depends on the game.
Because I remember playing Plague Tale, and that one was one where like I had started a bit in English, and I was like, no, and I switched it to the French, and I was like, there we go, that's where it's meant to be. Like, there's some games where you're just like, oh yeah, clearly this is the.
And some of them have really, really good like voice acting in French, like the Ubisoft games. Usually they have very, very good French actors doing those. The Assassin's Creed games, yeah. No, but like really, they really care about this. And the Assassin's Creed games are some of those I really play in French all the time. But text-heavy games, yeah, usually I will play them in French. And it depends. It really depends. There's no rule, I guess.
It's kind of fun being able to have the options, I suppose. You can also check to see like who you prefer, right? Like, I know for some.
Yeah, it really depends on the game. It really does. So, like, I don't know. When I played, was it Hellblade? I did play this one in English because of I heard about all the voice acting and the voices and the very nice sound mixing, and I really wanted the authentic experience, which was really good. I was afraid that the French translation wouldn't be as good.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, I can choose whatever I feel like is the best, I guess, or just how I feel about the game.
Nice. Awesome.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking about that too, because I'm thinking like, because I know Paula, we've talked a little bit about how like, at least in Spanish, there seems to be such a like big variety in terms of quality and
Yeah.
also what kind of Spanish is being used. But then French, it's I would imagine. I feel like there's more even games, especially as at least here in Canada. It seems like there are way more games that have the French option, even over like a Spanish option in general. But that might just
Yeah,
be
in
our case.
particular,
Hmm.
yeah. From what I remember, the Zelda Breath of the Wild had a Spanish option and a Mexican Spanish option, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
But usually we just get like the Spanish option, and that can get very confusing because they have a lot of terms and expressions that we do not have. So in my in this side of the world in particular, it's very funny how if you share a lot with different communities of people across Latin America and Spain, you end up getting like such a wide range of expressions. And I don't remember the expression that I used, but Aaron, my friend, said, "Hey, are you doing Mexican or like was it Mexican or Peruvian?" No, because that expression was like very from that place in particular. And I'm like, it is the fault of my other friend. I blame my other friend because she is in a community with a lot of Spanish speaking people.
yeah. We do have like French Canadian versions quite often, like
Oh,
yeah, like Breath of the Wild. Like there's the French from France, and you can choose French from Canadian French, and it's different actors too. It's not just the text; it's the different voices, and lots of like most Mario games actually have a French Canadian version. Like I don't know, I was playing was it Mario Galaxy with my son, and there's like definitely, especially with the Toad Squad, when they talk, it's definitely French from here. I mean, the way they talk and what they say. Obviously, the Messenger did that too. So there is the French from Quebec specific language in the Messenger, and it's like 99% slang, like heavy slang. If you're not born here, even if you're French, you won't get it like at all. They really
Oh.
played on it. And actually,
Well,
I think, yeah.
I was just going to say that makes sense because they're on your doorstep, right?
Yeah, well, actually, they're like 15-minute walk from where I work. Actually, walk past, like every day when I walk out of my office, when I do go to work and walk to get my bus station, I walk past Sabotage, these guys, Ubisoft, where they did Syndicate and Odyssey and Phoenix Rising. I walked past Freema Studio. These guys did, was it a Chariot or something? Like this platform puzzle game on the Switch and PC. Anyway, the game Kona, which was made like in Quebec as well. And we have Beanox, which has been around for forever, pretty much.
They're the Activision studio, aren't they? They did some Spider-Man games back in the day, I think.
Beanox?
Yeah.
Oh, they did a lot more than that. I mean, they remastered all the recent Call of Duty, I think, or Modern Warfare. That's them.
That was a good remake.
What's those little figurines games? What it was called?
Skylanders.
Yeah, like I think it's them also.
Oh, they must have helped Toys for Bob. I think they were the lead studio, but it's like obviously it's Activision umbrella, like you say.
Yeah, it's a big one. It's one of the first ones we got, and Gearbox got a new satellite office there as well in Quebec. So I actually see all these signs and offices every single day. So they're all in the same, like almost within 10 minutes, like walking time from each other. It's very, very, yeah, that's it. That's the game I was referring to. So that's Fremo Studio, which is actually right in front of my bus station. So yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Wait,
We got sidetracked, but
yeah, I know that's how this podcast works. What's the name of that language too, though, in Quebec, like the dialect in Quebec? Because I remember Jouard was one, but I don't. Is there another name?
Not really. No, I mean we don't.
Just the Quebec.
I don't think we have a name. Yeah, it's just. I don't know if that's true though, but I've heard that the way we talk is actually a lot closer to how the French talked back in the 15th century.
When it moved, that would make sense.
So like French people from France would go like, you guys from Quebec have this big accent, but historically speaking, it's like most of it is frozen in time from 500 years ago. I mean,
yeah. Well, I'll be honest, because I grew up in New Brunswick, right? And so I would do a lot of these tours for people from France and from Quebec. And it was like, if they both talked to me, I was like, you got to stop. Because I'm like, I can't do two versions of French at the same time. It's like, give me
it's very different.
It is. It really is.
Yes, it's very, very different.
Yeah, and people don't seem to understand anyway. Because it's very different than because obviously we talk with Rick, Rick and I speak different kinds of English, but they're so similar, and it's like the French between Quebec and France is way more different. Like the words are just totally different too, and pronunciation. But anyway, there's a little language thing. I love languages, so I like to talk about it. Why don't we keep moving on though? Because now what I want to know, because I think this will be interesting, because you started gaming at a different time than we did for sure. What's your gaming background and preferences?
Well, as far back as I can go, what I remember is my cousin, one of my cousins was living 2 blocks away from my home. And my dad was working the night shift back then. So I usually ended up going to my cousin's place until my parents, or my mom actually came back home. So I was going to my cousin's place, and he had Atari 2600, ColecoVision, and VIC-20. So this was what I was playing back then. So I remember playing Pitfall and Pong and the early versions of them, not the NES versions, or not the the very early low resolution games. And I remember that my cousin's dad was a businessman of some sort, and they had a lot of money, so they got all those consoles. Then they had the NES, which I didn't have. So I remember going to his place playing. I actually have vivid memories of a few of them. That was the first Castlevania, which is the game of the month right now. So I played a shit ton of that. What was it again? Popeye.
Oh, good old Popeye.
The NES game. Yeah.
Much better than
I remember playing the Ghostbuster game, which sucked, but I remember that. Top Gun, which also sucked, but there's no way you can land that plane. It's not possible. So yeah, I've got those memories of these games, very early on. And his neighbor had what was it again? Commodore 64. So yeah, this is the early gaming time. Then my dad knew a guy in some kind of rental place, like Blockbuster or something. So my mom was against us getting a gaming console because she saw that I was like really into it. But it wasn't like this very negative thing. I could still play at other people's places and stuff. So yeah, my dad knew this guy at this rental center, and every other weekend we would get a NES for 2 days. Since he knew the owner, we didn't pay for the rental of the console itself. But we had to pay for the rental for the games, and it was always the first Mario game and something else. So we would get Adventure Island, Russian Attack, Cobra Triangle, which I loved back then. Like whatever, it was Mario and something. So then Mario 2 came out, so then it was Mario 2 and something else. And maybe in 1989-ish, then we got our own console at home. So yeah, I grew up to be a Nintendo guy, like mostly. Then I got my Game Boy in 1990-ish. Anyway, I paid for that with my own money. I was like this 9-year-old kid going to the store with his own cash, and my dad was like, "Are you sure you want to spend that money on that thing? Like it's a lot of cash." And I ended up playing Tetris like nonstop for like 6 months, I think, before I got something else. And funny thing, my first Game Boy game after that was Castlevania, The Adventure.
Oh God.
Not a good game. I played that
Yeah,
recently on
no.
the collection.
Yeah, I know. It's a classic, right?
Yeah, quote unquote.
Depends how you
classic for
define
sure.
that term.
I still have it here. Look.
I might say relic.
In the freaking
But-
case, dude.
yeah. There it is.
Like all in plastic and stuff.
Oh.
So
I mean-
yeah, that's the one. I did not buy this one later on. That's like from 30 years ago.
Damn, I have to say I'm impressed you had
looks
the
like
boxes.
new.
I was such a trash kid when it came to my Game Boy and Game Boy Advance.
I'm
Yeah.
the same at first. I've only got a couple left, and I hate myself for it.
I know.
Yeah,
I didn't
well,
get
like-
left.
Well, we got rid of so many games that I just want to shoot myself now because it was expensive. So we would have some games, then bring them back to some store, get credits for them.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
My cousin used to do that.
yeah, so we always had these like very well, my games were always in very good shape, complete in box and plastic and everything. So I remember going and like putting back Mega Man 1, 2, 3, like for stupid like low credit numbers and stuff.
Not knowing how it would go in the future. Yeah.
Castlevania 3, which I repurchased last year.
Hey.
Yeah, like another one. I feel like I'm gonna stand up very often during this thing.
I mean, we'll appreciate it. The audience won't know, but we are absolutely
But I'm
appreciating
loving
it
it.
on your
Oh, yeah,
behalf.
there
Yes,
it is.
absolutely.
Yeah,
That is a niceness.
yeah. Is it
You've got a
flip?
I've
killer
never
collection.
seen. Yeah, I've never seen like a NES game like sealed before. So
Well, it's not sealed. It's in some kind of plastic, like thick plastic protections
Oh.
It's like a
that I
protective
get
box.
for my games. Yeah, I get like I've got those for all of my games. Like, look, it's some kind of a.
I love those things. I had that for my drill dozer. It's like perfection. Keeps them pretty safe.
Yeah, and it's pretty cheap. It's like $1 each or something. It's just maybe $2, but
I know. I kick myself for not keeping just the ones from my childhood. I don't really care about like my middle year gamings, you know, like Xbox 360s. I have a bunch of those, but they're like cracked, like cases and shit because those cases did not last, and they went
Yeah.
to many a university dorm.
so but yeah, this is what I grew up with. I mean, all these guys. It's
Yep.
yeah,
OG Mario.
Pristine as always.
yeah.
Played so much of that at my like preschool. We had a nest there, and I was just playing the crap out of Super Mario.
Well, like this is interesting actually. If you can see right here, this red logo here.
Oh yeah, it's got
Is it Mattel?
Yeah. So actually, Mattel was the distributor of Nintendo games back in the day because Nintendo was looking for a company to make the distribution. So they went for a toy company. because that's the Nintendo stuff was considered toys, I guess. So
Also trying to avoid the whole gaming crash sort of moniker with the Atari stuff.
yeah, so Mattel was distributing those NES games. But yeah, so I grew up to be a Nintendo guy mostly, 99%. So
Well,
yeah,
I feel
that's
like
my background, I would say.
nice. I feel like we already kind of covered what got you into gaming then, because I think we just went into like a nice whole area there.
Yeah, well, these are great memories. I mean, growing up in the 80s was very exciting. I mean, for games. I mean, everything came out like the Sega Master System and Genesis, the NES, Super Nintendo, the Game Boy. It was like every 2 years there was something new on the market. It's very, very exciting.
It's kind of wild, I guess, because that time, I guess when you think about it, it's like there was such a quicker turnover and stuff. Like, I mean, now, which is probably a good thing now that it takes longer, but like it was just such a like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And you feel the jump each time as well, probably in a way that you didn't as a child growing up, like later on, because from a NES to SNES, like PS5 stuff looks great, but it's not that much better than PS4.
Oh yeah,
really.
when we got the Super Nintendo, I still remember like taking it out of the box. Just the console itself, it was like something from like a gift from the universe or something. and just taking the controllers. I mean, it was the first time. Like for now, today we take all these controllers for granted. But back in 1991, you take that Super Nintendo like controller, and you're like, "What am I gonna do with all those buttons?" I mean, will it be difficult? Can I actually play with this?
How do I press the ones on the side? What's going on? Yeah.
Yeah. So and then playing like Super Mario World was. It's like wow! It was stereo sound. You had like multi-layered backgrounds, like super FX animation for some games. The music was great. It was wow. It really like it's hard to describe. Same thing happened with the Nintendo 64. The first time I actually played it was at my cousin's neighbor place, which got one. And then again, it's like, come on over, let's play this new game. And you take this controller, and you're like, what's this?
That one in particular.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the hell? It's. And then I remember playing through the first stage and getting to Bottom King, and it was like, wow, like this is the future now. We can play these 3D games, and like Mario 64 did it so well. Like as a new game, like I was just picking this up.
Yeah, good old N64 controller.
Yeah. So I've got all my stuff like accessible, most of it.
Nice.
So
yeah, mine's all like score. I have little hidey holes for all my gaming stuff.
Well, that one is close by because I've got this. We talked about it in the past. This adapter to use my N64 or GameCube controller on my PC, which is made by a guy in Quebec.
That I have to say, I've been playing with my GameCube controller, the PC.
Like this guy here.
Nice.
Ooh.
Yeah. So it actually plugs in a GameCube or N64. You cannot have both at the same time, and then it's just standard USB. And yeah, it's good stuff.
Beats the originals.
It's not the same. I used to have this USB N64 controller, and it's not the same feeling. The joystick is not the same, and the dead zone is not the same. It's very different. So yeah,
they look the same, but they don't feel the same.
no. So yeah.
Nice. So actually, okay, this might be interesting then. I'm curious, like, if you had to pick, like, what's your console or handheld of choice and why? Like, what's the one that you just, this is the one?
Oh man, it's so hard. I'm looking at my collection right now, and I'm just trying to find out which one I've actually spent the most like fun time with. Like it may sound weird, but I would say that the Wii U is very special to me. Well, for many reasons. First of all, I got it in 2013, so that was 1 year after release. At that time, I had not played any games for almost 10 years. Yeah, anyway, life happened, and between 2003 and 2013, I only played a couple of Game Boy Advance games, and that's it. In 2013, I wanted to go back into it. I got a Wii U because it was backwards compatible with the Wii. The Wii was a console that I had skipped completely, so now I could, try to get back into 2 generations at once. And I really did have a lot of fun between those two consoles. Yeah, so I would say that this, in my recent memory, would be like something very special. Otherwise, I think the PS1 might come in second place. From the late 90s. I mean, I got the PS1, was it in 1997 or something? Then boom, 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 Metal Gear Solid, Xenogears, Final Fantasy VIII, Brave Fencer, Jade Cocoon. It was like one after the other, like 97, 98, 99 for the PS1 was just like all bangers. It was one after the other. So yeah, I think those two would be the top choices, Wii U and the PS1.
I love it. That is a wide variety. That's great.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, I have a NES, a Super Nintendo, N64. I have my GameCube, my Wii U, PS1, 2, 3. I've got a Vita, a Game Boy Advance SP. I've got my DSi, a new 2DX XL, a new 3DS XL. I've got a PSP. I've got a Vita, a Switch.
Switch is your most current, I would imagine, then.
Yeah, it's just the Microsoft stuff. I've always been, I don't know, just... For me, it was just a glorified PC. For me, I mean, it's not a negative thing. I don't hate people who play Xbox games. It's just that I never...
Anyway.
Yeah, but I don't see any... Well, for me, anyway, I never saw any compelling exclusives for me.
And see, that was the thing. Like, I feel like you missed, because like I know for the 360 for me, like Microsoft hit, I think, particularly around like teenagers and then university aged, because it was like, those who couldn't bring a PC into their places, basically, right? So it makes sense to me. Like, whenever I meet people who are like really into Xbox, they usually were of that age or of some kind when they got it. It was like, oh yeah, of the perfect age to do this. And even when I think about myself now too, it's like, you're right, like a solid PC can do all the same. As long
it was a good timing too. I mean, I was working at Future Shop back then, if you remember the brand, which pretty much is like a Canadian version of Best Buy. And I was working there from 2003 to 2010. And the fact that the Xbox 360 came out 1 year before the PS3 and the Wii gave Microsoft the edge there. I mean, big time. It was a big release, and there was like no competition. It was Xbox 360, GameCube, and PS2. I mean, you go to the store and you see this Xbox 360 there. What do? I mean, you get it, and then PlayStation 3 and the Wii came out one week from each other in Canada. So that was a big release week, and the PlayStation 3 was just too expensive. I mean, it was like $800 Canadian.
Oh, it was stupid expensive. Like I remember why I absolutely couldn't.
It was a Blu-ray disc too. It was a Blu-ray player. It was cheaper than the cheapest standalone Blu-ray player we had at the store.
Yeah.
So
I think that ended up being the issue, is that like Blu-ray was still so expensive even just to buy Blu-rays. So like I know, like I'm thinking about my father who like really likes movies, but like he waited until Blu-ray was cheap and he didn't care about you know what I mean? Like he was like, he's not paying attention. He was just like, I'm just gonna get a Blu-ray player.
yeah, well, actually, so many people at the store bought the PS3 exclusively as a Blu-ray player because it was $200 cheaper than the standalone one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Same effect, just much less of a hit. Because again, like DVD to Blu-ray, you can tell, but it's not the same change as VHS to DVD was. In functionality, it's much as anything else. Because obviously DVD, you've got like chapter skip and
and back then, most people, like most of our customers, when I was working there, didn't have HD TVs.
Exactly.
So the Blu-ray was out, but most LCD and plasma TVs were 720p. So there was something better, but it wasn't like till a few years later that really kicked in.
And like personally, I don't know. I feel like the jump to 4K is the one that actually felt noticeable to me. But like I remember it wasn't so much this like Blu-ray jump. It was like at that time we got an HD TV, but it was just, it looked so big to me. It turns out it's like really probably like a 45 or like maybe 50-inch TV or something. Like it really wasn't that big, but like
that's still massive, to be fair. Like by most people's standards, that is still massive. But I take the point.
But you know what I mean. But it was in like a big living room. Do you know what I mean? Like I was just thinking like, oh, this huge TV that we got.
And also how much that was bezels the tech back in the day. Because I know ours, we got a big TV, but like a third of the bigness was the sides of the screens, not the screen itself.
Oh God! All right, well, that's a nice little memory lane. Our last little interview question: what's the story behind your username, Tiamat? Where does this come from?
That's a long story.
Good. Well,
back in 19. Well, let's go back to maybe 1996, 97, 98. My username that I was using back then, I will type it exactly as I was using it back then, was like this. Bayard, or whatever it was.
So anyone who's listening, it's like barnyard, but without the RN.
Exactly.
And the Y and the R are capitalized.
Well, this was from some Dragonlance novels, actually.
Okay.
It was like I was reading lots of those D&D Dragonlance novels back then. There was an interesting character by that name. So that was my username when I was using like ICQ and like all those earliest messenger type of applications, softwares, whatever. Then in 1998, 9, around that time, there was lots of websites that did VGM MP3 file distribution, which, I mean, wasn't very legal, but like VGM music was very popular back then, and there was like no way to really easily import those CDs. So there was like 5 or 6 mainstream MP3 basically just websites that were openly like distributing those MP3 files, and it was like nice UI, and you've got the cover, and then each track was a MP3 file. It would just right click, download. And me and some dudes were actually one of those sites, which was called Tiamat.net. So obviously based on the video game like Monster. So yeah, it started at that time that when the website died or was taken down, actually, I don't know, I just kept the name. So yeah.
Nice.
I've been using Tiamat since 1999, 2000 ish. I can't remember the 911 though. I have no idea where that comes from. It's like honestly, I don't know. I can't remember that.
Look, it's probably some shit, because you remember back in the early internet days where they would always just get you to put numbers after your name, right? Like that was just such a thing. Like mine was from Neopets.
Yeah.
Mm.
I actually
Yep.
think I was registering on a website, like to create an account on some website or whatever, and then they ask you to choose a username, and then you type in your name, and it's like
It's already been taken. Yeah.
exactly, it's already been taken. Like here are some suggestions. So
Yes.
like 1, 2, then numbers, and I think that's probably what happened. I just put 911, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's been like over 20 years now.
And you can't change
It's
it
never
now,
changed.
right? It's
No.
established.
Yes. I mean, it's been 20 years. I've done a lot of things with it since. So, but it did start with that Tiamat.net website. We were 5 or 6 guys, and each one of us was doing something different. So there was like one that was doing the HTML code. One guy was doing the graphics. One guy was doing, I can't remember. Anyway, like we each had something to do with the website. I was doing the music part, I think, like choosing which albums we were like
Okay.
sharing,
Share it,
quote
yeah.
unquote. So, but it stuck. But back then, I was still using my old username on that website.
Oh, okay.
It's really when the site was taken down by, I think it was by the host, like the whoever was
Main
hosting the
host, yeah.
website. Yeah, they just took us all down. They took like 10 websites within the same week because they realized we were all sharing like Final Fantasy soundtracks and stuff like that. But yeah, so I kept the name after that, and it stuck for over 20 years. But yeah, I cannot change it anymore. I can't.
That's how it is.
Stuck with it now.
Your
Yeah.
username is like more permanent than your name. It's just it is what it is.
Well, I don't know. Maybe we'll see.
That's how it feels for me. Although you have a
Well,
couple.
yeah, but that's how you guys know me as. I mean, I've been around for so long now.
Damn right.
And it's interesting, even the difference. I think it was friend of the podcast, Abatage, who was saying when he used to do like IRC relays, you'd have a different name each time, and it's just that when that shift happened, that was the one he was stuck with. But yeah, like you say, nowadays, that's you pick one, and that's kind of where you're at because that's how people know you.
Digital
Yeah, well,
brand.
yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, don't stop it. No.
Tiamat, TM, trademark.
How else can you
registered.
exert your quote unquote influence?
Yeah.
Well, more just be recognized by anyone. Be like, oh, I know you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So, in lieu, when we have guests on, we're going to kind of reserve our beatens and retireds for next week. But we'd love to hear, because I know, Tiamat, you mentioned you haven't had a lot of time to play for a while. So I'd love to hear, what was the last game you beat?
Okay, well, let me see. So, yeah, I haven't played anything in like a month. Well, basically, since my son started 3rd grade, it's been busier, and I've been busy with work. So, time has been short for gaming. So, I haven't played anything since I'd say the last week of August, or maybe the first week of September. So, yeah, maybe a month. Like nothing. Like, except for October 1st, which I played some Castlevania for like 20 minutes just for fun to see how far I could make it from, muscle memory. Ended up beating like 2/3 of the game in 25 minutes, which isn't bad. But yeah, my real
Not bad at all.
completion. Yeah. The last game I beat was RealMyst Masterpiece Edition. I know there's been talk about that game, like everybody played it like in the past month or so. It was it was the first time I actually played this one. I used to own a copy of this back in the day. I guess I don't have it anymore. Oh well. But yeah, I've had this game like a physical copy for like 20 years, never played it, and I was like, okay, that's it. And there was a humble bundle for Miss Games a few months ago, and for like $10-12, it was like all 5 games or something. So yeah, and I played through the RealMyst version, but I used the what they call the classic controls. So you basically play RealMyst, so like 3D environments, dynamic lighting, new textures, everything is moving. But when you turn on classic mode, you still have the original slideshow or pictures if you want. So you're not.
I was about to say slideshow movement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can't freely move around. You're limited to the original screens. But let's say when you start by the docks and you click on that first, there was like a switch pedestal or something like right there. If you click on it, like in the original game, your character will just like walk towards it. So it's not a screenshot replaced by another screenshot. There's movement. I don't know if you understand what I mean.
Halfway house. I do.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how I feel about that, because I think the beauty of the original Myst is that they made those screenshots work, and I get including a classic mode, but I find it a little bit. There must be some quirks to playing it that way.
Well, actually, it was fine because I preferred it that way, because then I feel like you're limited to what the content was back then. So, like that piece of paper that's on the ground that you guys have talked about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
I mean, if you freely walk anywhere you want, you can miss it. But if you play it like with the original slideshow, you're on that. You end up seeing it on the ground like rather easily.
It's framed better. I take the point, because you've got like a director's lens on it.
Yeah, and those screenshots from that version are exactly the same angle, same frame, same cropping as the originals. It's not different. It's just that when you click on something, it's not a new screenshot that replaces the other. It's like there's movement, and it's fast too. Like when you click forward, your character just walks at a fairly fast pace, but so there's movement.
Okay, so it's not like a slideshow switch. It controls that way, but the motion is as though it was the normal 3D movement, but outside of your control.
Yeah, you just click and it just moves.
Oh,
so you basically have the same screenshots, the same views, but in a dynamic environment, 3D, better sound. There's a night and day cycle and all that stuff, but instead of being fixed, you just click and it just walks and then stops, and then you get the same screenshot.
Gotcha.
And you can press the shift button on your keyboard, and it will show you in a thumbnail in the middle of the screen what was the original one from the original game.
Oh, cool.
So you can just press a button and see what it was back in 1993, just for fun.
Oh, I can't believe that's when it was first came out. My God.
Yeah,
it's an old game for sure. It's like almost the 30th anniversary.
Yeah, so I really hesitated between like Myst Masterpiece Edition and RealMyst Masterpiece Edition, because I wanted to get as close as possible to the original game, but RealMyst with the classic controls turned on gave me the better version with the classic gameplay. And yeah,
nice.
So that was my latest completion. So that was good. Just before that one, I completed the first Boxboy game.
Great game.
Yes, it was
Excellent
fun.
Game.
Yeah, I did not go through the bonus levels, so I only beat the 17 worlds.
Mm-hmm.
Got all the crowns, so it was 100% completion of the main game, if you want to. But yeah, it was very, very good and fun. Before that, I completed Kirby's Epic Yarn.
Also a great game.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. This one also completed almost 100%. The only thing I did not do was those. For those who've played the game, you have this kind of hotel with like you build rooms, and then you have like small characters that go live in them. and they
Yeah.
give you like mini games to play, which is like, oh, play this level within 2 minutes, or find something, or get whatever amount of gems and time limit, whatever. So I skipped this. Then
How long ago was that completion? Just as a matter of curiosity.
August 10. Actually, I completed 5 games in August.
Okay, so September was like the dry period, but August we
Yeah.
did do some gaming. Okay.
Before that one, there was a Trash Quest.
Oh,
That, yeah. I don't know if you guys have heard about that one. I
think
talked
Rick
about
just
it
beat
Beat it this
on the
week.
Discord.
I literally beat it this week.
You did?
maybe
Yeah,
both talked
there you
about it then.
You know
Okay.
what?
I didn't-
It's excellent.
drinks
It's
well,
really
but
short, but it's lovely.
Yeah, it's actually very fun. It's basically like a classic Metroidvania with a single respawn point. So whenever you die, you just respawn at the same place, which is pretty much in the center of the map.
Mhm.
And it's really classic, like 2D, kind of monochrome-ish graphics.
1-bit color palette sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Music is very fun. Controls are extremely good. Well, for me, they were. There was a few like platforming challenges, kind of like not as hard as Celeste, but like there was a few platforming places where it's kind of hard because you got to play with your double jump, triple jump, your jetpack, and there's like stuff to do. But yeah, it was fun. It was a pretty short game too. It was let me see, beat that one in 2.5 hours.
Fair. The game is clearly built for speedrunning. Like right on the home screen, it's giving you times. If you're not connecting online, it's trying to connect online to pull those times to you. I think my playthrough took about an hour, and that was like one side room I missed. Otherwise, it was 100%. But the fastest 70% time is 7 or 8 minutes. It
That's
can
crazy,
be done
though.
really quickly. Yeah, it's mad. I mean, you'd have to really memorize the layout and be able to like run the critical path with a minimum of mistakes, almost none. I don't know if the time's glitched even, but there are definitely ways you can run that game quicker. And I know as good as the game is, quite a few times I got lost and got turned around on the map. There are places where had I known the layout or run it once before, it would have been a lot quicker to run. So there's definitely efficiencies to be made there. Should say we did have a little technical hiccup while we're in the middle of that. Tiamat told me that there's a DLC that's included. So although I've beaten Trash Quest, I'm going to be playing Trash Quest again once we finish recording. So that's good to know. And yeah, I can't remember if I said before or not. Game regularly goes on sale for like 90% off. If you have a Switch or Steam, it's well worth checking out at that price point, I think.
Yeah.
Did you
Okay,
play
maybe
that?
the
If
last
you're in
one.
Chile if you're in Chile or Latin America in general, in Steam you can get it like for $2 anytime, which is nice.
Yeah.
It's nuts.
Maybe one last completion would be a recommendation.
Oh.
Yeah, Might and Magic, Clash of Heroes.
Yes,
Oh,
of course.
yeah.
You got
Yeah.
like obsessed with that game, which everybody does because it's an obsessive game.
It is. I mean, it's extremely well done. It's well written. It's simple, though. I mean, the dialogues and stories is very simple. But it's a lot of fun. The fact that you play through like 5 mini campaigns, but in a continuous story is very fun. And just the battles are pretty much like a glorified Tetris, or I mean, it's like the battles are puzzles. It's dynamic puzzles because you've got your enemy positions, and then you have to stack them with the same colors and the same type of enemies. And if you can create combos to make them stronger, but then the enemy will do that as well. And the AI is actually very good. Yeah, Rick agrees. I was surprised. The AI will see you coming 2 turns before you do something. You check their screen. You're like, okay, I'm gonna put like an archer here. This dragon there is gonna charge for 2 turns. These guys will charge for 1 turn, and then it's the enemy's turn. It will just like fuck it up. It will
That
place
last
it.
campaign especially, they can hand your ass to you just out of nowhere.
Yeah, and the very last boss took me like 10 hours to beat. I mean, I reached the end. I reached the end of the game within like 30 hours, but it took me almost 15 hours to beat the last sequence of the game because, you've got like special powers. The last boss is very hard. You got to find strategies, so you have to try with one power, doesn't work with another power, and then until you try something that works. And there was no way I would let it down. I mean, once you spend like 35 hours, 40 hours on a game, and you're literally at the last boss, it's like I had to complete the game, so which I did within a few days.
It's for anyone who's listening, like this game is a unearthly combination of turn-based strategy, match puzzling, and Hearthstone. Like you take it in turns to match people together on your side, and it's DS. So like the top screen is your opponent, the bottom screen is you. And when you match characters together, you create attacks, which then if you can breach the back wall of your enemy's defense, then hit their life point, and that's sort of the Hearthstone element. And it's whoever can clear it out first.
Nice.
I think it has a Steam port that's not as good. Like I would always recommend seeking out a DS copy or emulating it if you can. Tiamat's got his hand. Mine is bouncing around somewhere. I'm not going to try and find it because I'll be here all afternoon. My room's a bit of a cluster at the moment.
Well, I looked it up on Steam. The Steam port, from what I could see online, is the same game but like overhauled in HD.
Yeah,
Sorry, but it doesn't look the same. Yeah, but the pixel art is so cute in that game. It's very cute. It's very nice. It's cartoony. But the Steam port is in HD, but they redid the graphics with something completely different. It doesn't look the same at all. It's visually doesn't look as good to me, but I'm sure it's a good way to play the game.
Well, I don't know about now, but I know at launch it was quite buggy. Because I looked at replaying the game, I loved the game so much, and I elected to leave it just because of the way that port got received. It's worth reiterating, like the core loop is just so perfectly tuned. It's one of the puzzle games up there actually with Boxboy and a couple of others where it's been good to the point that I've dreamed about it. My dreams have been me filling in those puzzles. Anyone who's got an emulator or an original console to hand, Might and Magic Clash of Heroes is one that you should absolutely be checking out. It is a stone cold 10 out of 10 classic.
Yes, no, I agree 100%. It's very, very good.
There you go.
Yeah. So these are like all my completions for the last since late July, August, July. Yeah, I could go down again, but I don't know. It's not really worth it. So basically, my main game now is Assassin's Creed 4.
Okay.
That'll lead us right into our playings there. Give her a little segue.
Yeah, but I haven't touched it in a month because of time issues, but I played it for like 10 hours-ish so far. It's fine. It's not my favorite Assassin's Creed game so far, though, but don't really like the main character of the game.
Is that the American Revolution one, or is that 3?
That's 3.
This is Black Flag. I'm talking about Black Flag.
Oh, the pirate one. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm not a fan so far. It's fine, but it's never like it's for me. It's never as good as the Assassin's Creed 2 trilogy, if you want. Yeah.
Have you gotten to like the sea battles and stuff yet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
that
I'm
one
not
was
sure.
my favorite, but there's also the kind of fog of like it was the first PS4 game I played, and I was like,
Yeah, well, it's extremely well made, but I don't know. It's like they made it so mandatory to make so many battles to get materials for upgrades and stuff. And I don't know. I never feel like I can battle one ship. It's like you sail and everything, and say, oh, this ship has like iron and gold, and I need iron. And then there's like you start attacking that ship, and there's like 4 of them that just turn around and stuff like ramming you crazy, and you're like getting shot from all directions. I don't know. I prefer the parkour, the like on foot.
It's certainly a different element than the earlier Assassin's Creed.
Yes,
that's for sure.
Yeah. So I've been stuck on that one, not because I don't like it, but time issues. But that would be my current game.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, Paula, why don't you tell us, what are you playing?
Yeah, she's been like quite silent.
I've been quite silent, but
Yeah.
I wasn't sure on what to add. I was just like
just
receiving all
vibing.
the stories from Tiamat because I was just vibing, especially when you were talking about older games. I was just like, what a nice class on the history of the games. So sorry. One of these games was quite unexpected for me because I was just like waiting at university for my for the time I had to take a test, and a friend of mine was like, "Hey, why don't we go to the salita that is like a study room that we have on the engineering computer department?" And there were a lot of consoles. Like, I don't know what's going on with the students there, but they kind of like bring their consoles for everyone like to play, and they share consoles over there. And there was a PS2 with the Guitar Hero. So I have the pleasure to play Guitar Hero,
yeah.
the original one, on a PS2 with the guitar controller. And that was quite fun. They actually had a GameCube and a PS3 and a Switch and an Xbox. I don't know which one, but there was an Xbox over there. So maybe I'll just drop by over there and play some Guitar Hero from now on, because I didn't even know that that particular room was there.
That's dope.
Because I got, yeah, it was amazing. It was fun. The controller was quite old, so you have to really like press the buttons for it to work. But it was still a lot of fun.
I bet those buttons are sticky. Yeah, they get so busted after a while.
Yeah, they kind of get like squishy. I don't know.
Squishy, yeah.
Squishy, yeah.
It's often because of, honestly, I think it's just shit gets into them.
Yeah, probably. Like, I don't know, like how many people have to use that guitar, and I don't want to know.
Cheetos and Mountain Dew.
Yes, exactly.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
The gamer's diet.
Yep.
The other game that I've been playing besides playing a shit ton of TCG is Guardian Tales, because holy crap, this game just saved my gaming routine, because things happen and the only thing that I had time to play was Guardian Tales at this point. And I went along in the story, and I'm quite pleased on how the story has been written. Right now, on a kind of like the third map on the game, and I had to go through a stealth mission, which I usually hate. And I'm not gonna lie, I still had a rough time with this one, but I feel like it was like well planned on how you can move stuff to make the guards not notice you. And I'm honestly surprised on how well designed the game is, especially for a mobile game. And you actually get a hook shot, so the amount of puzzles that use the hookshot in creative ways are like up the roof. Like, you usually have to just like fly around the room with the hookshot, but there's like extra platforms like the ones from Link's Awakening that makes you like jump a level, but this one sends you across the room. And you have like these speed platforms that you pass over like some sort of switch, and you just dash through the room, and you have to combine that with the bombs that you can find that are totally not bomb flowers from Zelda.
They're bomb plants.
They work
It's totally
exactly
different.
like they work exactly the same as in Zelda. You just grab a bomb, after the bomb explodes, there's another bomb over there.
If it ain't
There's
broke.
a lot of Zelda influence, to be honest. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Yeah. And I don't know. It is just fun. And it has some really heartbreaking moments, which surprised me because it was like very silly up until shit went down the drain. And oh my god, I cannot spoil this because people should really be checking this one out, especially if they are like into mobile games. Like this one is the one that you should be playing if you like playing on your phone. Like out of all the gachas out there, you should be playing this one because it's the better design one. Like, and it is just plain fun. Speaking of the gacha element, I've been trying to. Oh, Molly, I have been trying to get one particular character, which, bringing back the topic of different translations, we've nicknamed him the Amo Bonito, or like the Pretty Lord or Pretty Master, because he looks exactly, or like not exactly, but he is like reminiscent of Sesshomaru on the Inuyasha anime. And the thing about Sesshomaru is that he's called Sesshomaru-sama by his underling on the Japanese version. He's called Master Sesshomaru in the English dub. I think he's called Amo Sesshomaru, that is pretty much like Master Sesshomaru on the Spanish version. And he's just called the Amo Bonito or the Pretty Master or the Pretty Lord on the Latin American dub, and he's such an icon that I think they reference it back in the original Japanese release of the sequel to Inuyasha. And sorry, that was quite a tangent just to say that I'm trying to get the Amo Bonito, or like the character without the Amo Bonito on Guardian Tales.
Listen, Paula, you've been listening most of the podcast. You can go on all the tangents you want.
Yeah, thank you. And so far, no luck, but we are currently in the banner for him, so I'm trying to get the character because he's actually like quite a good character and will vibe very well with my current team for the story of the game. And the other thing that I unlocked, besides the like 4 world, I think, Tiamat. Yeah, the 4 world of the game. I've also unlocked the Colosseum. The thing about the Colosseum is that it is like an auto battler where you put your characters in like in a grid, so you can define like, okay, these characters go in the front line, these characters go like in the back lines, like this one goes in the middle, etc. And the thing about it is that you just build your team and you just like throw them at another player, and then you just wait to see which one wins. And I was doing quite well until I wasn't. Like I ran into like some very veteran expert players, and I wasn't having a good time anymore. So I'm still trying to play it so I get like the daily missions done, but I also get like the gems that they give you like at the end of the banner, because again, this game gives you a lot of gems that you use to summon characters. And of course, I'm just gonna get the Amo Bonito. And I want those gems. And I'm doing actually pretty good because I'm Silver 1 right now. I didn't get to Silver 1 even like in Age of Empires, so I'm pretty proud of that. And the other aspect of the game that I'm yet to unlock, but I'm really looking forward to, is the arena, which is different to the Colosseum in the sense that this one is a actual fight between the players and not like just throwing your units against one another. You actively play the game and try to defeat the other player. And I really want to get to that one because it looks hella fun. And what else have I been doing, Garden Tales?
Like it just will take you over if you're not careful.
It is true, though. I have to say, it is very funny. It has like a limit on stamina that you can use, like, and it recharge over time. But they still give you a lot of free stamina like twice a
At the
day,
moment.
so you still
At
get
the
a lot of
moment.
play.
They give you
It's
like
going to be a
2
few months.
games.
It's like
Yeah.
$50 was a perfectly reasonable price to pay for the amount of whatever it is that I got. It's such a fair gacha. It's totally fine, honestly.
I've sworn myself to not ever pay for the gacha,
Okay.
for this gacha in particular, because I did put like $5 on Genshin Impact, and since it was like, okay, I got to this point of the game and I'm not playing it, and it feels like, I know it's a sunken cost fallacy.
Yeah.
But I really don't want to like just spend money on something and just drop it forever.
Yeah.
Because, well, money is limited, and if I can play for free, why would I why would I pay?
Well,
I
you're on
could
the
use
record
that
now, Paula.
Yeah, I could just use those $5 to pay for Trash Quest and another small game and just have fun like that, and just have this no pay like heaven that is this game over here, which I totally forget the name of. Garden Tales. Sorry. I think that tangent is over unless card games count, which I think they do not.
Unless there's anything else you want to add, I think I've got a nice segue though into what I've been playing.
Well,
because
you did, and then you said you had a nice segue.
Premium games on mobile still exist, and some of them are actually quite good, including one that I started playing this week called Evoland. I paid
I
on
have
sale.
that on Switch.
I paid 60 pence for the mobile version of this. It's a little RPG thing. The conceit is you are playing through the history of games, and so like your character's on a static plane and they can only walk left, and they open a chest and it gives them the ability to walk right, and then they go right and there's another chest, and then like they get, so you're acquiring all these abilities that like map to gaming innovations over the years. Cool. It's fun. It's relatively basic, and I'm only an hour in, but already I'm sort of seeing points where the game is in service to the gimmick rather than the gimmick being in service to the game, which is the way around I think it ought to be. For the price I paid, it's good fun. It's very straightforward. It's not too taxing. The art's quite charming, and some of the flavor text and the little things that they tag into it are quite clever. So I'm pretty warm on this, particularly for how little I paid for it. In terms of other things, I'm still technically playing The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, although I have made no further progress. And that's because I've been playing other things a little bit more. I've made a bit more headway in Luigi's Mansion 2. I'm on, minor spoiler, the third mansion in that game. I do find myself having to play it a little bit in bursts, just because in a way that the original kind of didn't, there's an element of repetition and sameness that I can feel creeping in to the sequel. It's still a really good game. It's still a lot of fun. I'm still enjoying the core mechanics and all the things that it's asking me to do with them. I'm just not quite as hot on it. It's worth saying, for an early 3DS title, this game looks excellent. Makes really good use of the 3D. The environments are surprisingly detailed and well realized. And although you do sort of still feel the limitations of no second analog stick, I do feel that they make a much better use of all the setup that they have than the port of the original made on the 3DS, as much fun as I had with that one. I do have to say, looking back now and seeing how I feel with this one, I think 6 or 7 hours is probably the sweet spot for a Luigi's Mansion experience. And according to a little website I came across called How Long to Beat, which does sort of track user times about these kinds of games, it says about 10, 11 hours, which I think by the time I hit 10, and you'll be able to tell me, Alex, because you've already played it, I think by the time I hit 10 hours, I'm going to be a little bit overdone with it, really.
God, I can't remember what my experience was like with 2. I enjoyed it. I just don't remember.
Yeah.
It was so long ago now. 3 was,
and to be clear, I'm
favorite,
enjoying it. It's like a 7 or 8 where you focus on the flaws, even though like most of the things the game does, it does right to very well.
It's a very
have I
competent game. I think that's how I feel.
Yeah, well, I own it. I'll need to get to it eventually because I really like the first one.
And if you like the first one, the second one is more of the same for better and for worse. It's definitely not as focused an experience because they spread it across different environments in a way that the original didn't. But mechanically, it's very, very similar.
Okay. Well, my son has been playing the third one.
Heard good things, yeah.
Yeah, we got it at the library actually because at the library here we can get video games. Yeah.
Okay.
For free, just like we can borrow books. So we got the public library and they have like Switch games and stuff. I think he went through like half of the game. It's amazing. I've watched him play at least 2 hours, like spread across like 2 weeks. And based on what I've seen in the first game, I've played the 3DS port of the first one. It's miles beyond like what they did in the first one. It's amazing. It looks beautiful. It looks a lot of fun. There's like puzzles. The boss fights are like very clever. So yeah, it's but yeah, free games library.
Yeah.
They have lots of them actually. They have last time I checked, they had like 80s and like Final Fantasy 10 2 remastered. They have a bunch of games, which like my son is playing Bowser's Fury right now, which we got at the library too. So
yeah, it's
hey,
a big
so yeah,
use it.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know about it, but same thing here. Yeah, like I know in Edmonton, tons of games at our local library. It's like, go grab it.
Yeah, we can keep them up to a month.
It's not bad.
Not bad at all.
Yeah.
Not bad at
For
all.
me, I'm moving to Canada.
Yeah, we
One
borrowed
final-
a couple of Wii U games too, and some Wii games. Now he's playing like some kind of, what is it called? It's like Blue Flag. It's like theme park or something.
Six Flags.
Yeah, Six Flags. Yeah, he's playing that. So it looks like
Never
theme
been, but I
park,
know it.
but yeah. So
one
kid stuff.
one final. Oh, sorry, go on.
Yeah.
One final really quick bit on Luigi's Mansion 2. It's level based now, which the original wasn't. Really suits the handheld, and also just in terms of fatigue with the setup, really easy to pick up and put down because it's like 15-20 minute levels. I think that works really well in its favor. It's worth saying. Yeah, and there's 1 and 2. Tiamat's found them on his magical shelf.
Yeah,
Which I'm very jealous of.
Nice.
You're much easier within reach of your games than I am. I've got boxes to dig through and like shelves across 2 floors.
yeah. My
It's a whole
stuff is
thing.
all like sorted and stuff. So
Yeah, that's a lesson to learn from, I think. A couple more quick ones. I started a game called Jack Move, which we talked about because we played the Next Fest demo. I'm an hour in, and so far the full game lives up to the demo.
Nice.
It's a really nice little RPG. The music slaps. The music is so good, and the pixel art is pretty close in quality as well. Looks like quite a short one, which
Okay.
I'm on the record as being a massive fan of Cosmic Star Heroine, knowing how long to pitch itself as a little RPG sort of thing. And so far, Jack Moo's shaping up to be really, really strong in a very similar way. I have to say, particularly nice is the cyberpunk aesthetic. It's like a slightly more, what's the word I'm looking for? Not airbrushed, sanitized. It's a slightly more sanitized cyberpunk dystopia, but it's very sort of true to that genre. And the way that the abilities and the terminology are all set up is very true to that as well. Gives it a novel feel along with all the other little things that it's doing. Some minor quirks in what is otherwise a relatively straightforward single character turn-based combat system. I really like this one. I really, really like this one. And I'm so glad that Next Fest exists because it turned me onto a game that I might otherwise have completely missed. And slight foreshadowing, as of the time of recording, there's a Next Fest on. So, hey, maybe we'll be talking about some of those games in the not too distant future.
Who knows?
Who knows? Not me.
Who knows?
I started Guacamelee 2 on PS4. It's more Guacamelee. I love the story setup. It starts with you replaying a very, very easy version of the final battle from the first game, saving the day, all of that. And then it cuts to your character like 10 years on with a proper pot belly in his little trophy room. And his kid comes down and like, Pappy, are you looking at your trophies again? And like that idea of like reclaiming past glory. It's such a clever setup for what could have been a very formulaic, like, let's do it again sort of thing. So initial signs very, very positive for that. But again, only just really started it. And finally, have almost finished Immortality.
Nice.
The latest Sambarlo vehicle. Oh, I have lots of thoughts on this, and I can't share most of them because they're kind of spoilery.
Yeah, it's hard to talk about this game without spoiling it.
It's so hard. Paula, you need to play this, and then we can do a spoiler cast. It's on Game Pass. It's like 5 or 6 hours. I desperately just want to dig into this. The bits I can talk about, by contrast to Barlow's previous games, Her Story and Telling Lies, this game uses a match cut system. So you pick an object or a character in the scene, and the system will jump you to a different clip that has a shape alike or the same character, those kinds of things. It's more and less limiting at the same time. I get why they've used it this time. I get why they needed to do it that way this time. And I also like, without giving too much away, how it makes you more aware of some of the thematic through lines and some of the imagery and symbolism that Barlow's very meticulously included in all these clips. I don't think it's as functional, and I think it's way easier, as opposed to the word system, just to mash your way through and get a fair way through without really getting what's going on.
Oh, I 100% did that.
Yeah, me too. And it's only afterwards when I'd like, because I've rolled credits, I'm still getting the last clip. So like, I think I understand all the story, and I think I understand all of the moving parts within it, to the extent that you can. It's only when I read some people's sort of look backs on it and their opinions on it that they talked about things, and I was like, oh no, that's there. I just totally missed that. And I think that the word system was much better at making you conscious of what patterns you were looking for. I think I like this story the most of any that Barlow's told. If anything, it maybe falls just behind Her Story, maybe, just because that was a much more
more concise story, I'd say.
Yeah, it was a more clear story as well. Even though you had to do some picking apart, there was a very obvious, this is what happened. And it's not necessarily that you need to have resolution, but I think it's easy to get lost in the weeds with this one. It's also worth saying I'm still processing the story, and I think I'll probably know better how I feel about it in a week's time once I've passed all of it. Because as a technical achievement, this is remarkable, whatever you think of the game itself. There's like 3 movies worth of clips in here, all of which have had to be shot as movies in their own right. Pardon?
There's almost like 4 movies. There's a lot of movies in here.
yeah, I suppose so. Like 3.5, let's say.
Yeah.
And the directing is such that you've directed an actor to act as the actor, acting as another character, and then potentially other layers beyond that. So it's a real feat that it is coherent at all. I kind of think this goes beyond the limits of the, oh, here's this cachet of footage. Have fun. I think this really shows the limitations of that setup. I still think it works. I still think it's incredible. And I'm really pleased that this is a game either through Netflix or through Game Pass people can experience with no investment. Because I think to try something out like this, that is crucial. It's such a description-defying piece of media that allowing people to just go in and try it is paramount.
Nice.
Outside of our little circles. I just don't know. I think
Save
it's
it
a
for
little
next.
bit.
Next time, yeah.
Yeah.
because
I'll hopefully be more coherent myself then once I've processed it all, because it is
Yeah,
very fresh.
you need to
I
process
rolled
it.
credits this morning.
Okay, you need to process it. Yeah, because I've been there. I know I beat this one too. So I hear you. Let's save you for that one. I'm gonna jump in here quick with. I don't actually have a ton to say about all these, but I'm actually playing Ace Attorney Investigations 2: Prosecutor's Path again. I beat the second
Heard that one
case.
before.
I'm in the third case now. I'm about halfway through the third case, and I'm really enjoying it. Like, it's fun. Oh, you know what it is? I'm back in like Grand Prairie at this point, so I've just been kind of chilling out, reading a little bit more. It's like more of an area where I can just chill because I can't do my substitute teaching right now. So I'm just here chilling. I beat that. I'm not beat that. I'm playing it. I also started playing In Death Unchained again on my Oculus Quest. This is such a cool game. Like, it's a kind of like, it's a roguelite essentially, like bow and arrow roguelite, where you go into this you're in like paradise or hell or whatever. Like, it's this kind of afterlife, and you fight these like, there's like, Knights Templar, and there's these ghosts and like zombies and all this stuff, and you have bow and arrow, and you can also use a crossbow. The crossbow's nuts. That thing is just like, because it's so fast to use. But I find the bow way more fun. And so you basically go through and you're just trying to like get to the end and fight these bosses. There's a bunch of different types of arrows that you can get. And I have to say, I really, really like this one because the sense of progression in it is excellent. They have so many things that they're tracking as you play, so many things that you kill. Like, I went through and I unlocked a whole bunch of new stuff, and it like unlocked new things for me to get in my runs. And I'm like, sometimes that kind of bothers me a little bit. Like, in some games, it's like, okay, well, why are you blocking off this mechanic from me? But in this one, I actually do enjoy it because it forced me to use other power-ups first and get kind of used to them before giving me what would end up being like the one that I would just always go for. You know what I mean? Like, you play a game and you're like, well, that's the most powerful one, so why would I ever use anything else? And it's like, in that sense, I'm kind of like, well, now in a lot of ways, it's like, well, why do you even have to make the other ones? Because no one wants to use them, And so doing it this way felt like, okay, before I got the like, I got like a heat-seeking exploding arrow, and I'm like, well, that's the one. Like, I'm like, if there's ever a weapon I'm going to use, that's it. But I had to kind of do something to unlock that in my runs. It's really fun, and it's so good in VR. And like, this is one of the few VR games where there is manual walking, but you can also just shoot an arrow to teleport. And that is like a mechanic that they're like, no, you got to do this, because there are moments where you can like, I've gotten really good at shooting it and like teleporting on top of a building and just sniping and then going through, and like, it's really fun. It feels superbly designed for VR. And when you don't have that freaking, no wires or anything on you, and you're just running around, oh dude, it is a blast. So I highly recommend this to anyone who has a VR headset, because it's not just on Oculus. There's a version for PC VR as well, but it's not like, this one's called Unchained because, no wires. Another one that I started playing that is maybe a little more random. I started playing Monster Hunter Stories 2: Wings of Ruin on the Switch. This is awesome. So I've never played the first Monster Hunter Stories, and I never will. I hear it's good, but I'm not going to go play it. It's on the 3DS. This one apparently kind of fixes the shit from that one. That was like a little... I don't even know if it connects to the first one. It might. They keep talking about some like grandpa who maybe was the protagonist of the first game. I don't know. I haven't researched it. Don't really want to find out. It might be. Who knows? It's kind of fun playing it this way, because I love, if that is the character from the first game, then I love what they've done here, because you never really knew that person. So there's this kind of like mystique of like, who is that person? But if you had played the first game, then you might be like, I know them, and like it might be callbacks, which I think is it's a brilliant way of doing it, because if you're brand new to the series like I am, I feel like I'm not missing anything, because they're properly explaining it, but then I also don't feel like they're over explaining things from the first. It's a turn-based monster catching RPG. I think people compare this to Pokemon a lot, but I don't think that's a good comparison at all, because it's really not like Pokemon. It is Monster Hunter as an RPG. And that's why I think I love it, because Monster Hunter it's incredible. Like, don't get me wrong. It's just, that's a game where you have to decide like, okay, I'm going to learn how this game works. You know what I mean? And it takes a long time to get good at that game. And I just did not have the time for it. Like, I played through a fair bit of Monster Hunter Rise, but then once it started to get to the point where it was like genuinely getting complicated, and it's like, okay, now you have to actually really plan out your hunts. I was like, oh, okay, I'm done. Couldn't do it anymore. But this one yeah.
I was just saying, to be clear, did you say it's a turn-based, so it's not like a cutesy version of regular Monster Hunter?
No,
that's my
it's
impression.
turn-based. No. It's not cutesy at all, honestly. It's exactly like Monster Hunter. Like the monsters all look the same. It's just that basically you have a monstie with you. The idea is that you're from an island where they're monster riders. They're not really hunters.
Okay.
And so you essentially, the way it kind of works is that you always have a monster who fights with you, right? And you don't actually control that monster. That monster decides for itself what it's going to do. You can occasionally influence them, but not really. There's like a rock, paper, scissors mechanic that goes through this for fights. There's like strong, technical, and agile attacks. Like it's basically red, green, blue. And the way it's actually kind of interesting. So you have your own, and you have like the Monster Hunter weapons. So you'll have, because you fight as well. So you'll have swords. There's basically swords, bows, hammers, and then variations within each of those, right? Because there could be long, big, like all the Monster Hunter weapons are in there, but they break them into 3 overarching categories. And so when you're fighting a monster, the monster will be weak to 1, 2, maybe all of those weapons. And so you kind of have to figure out which ones they're weak to. And they'll also do attacks at you. And the thing is, they're attacking you directly. If they're attacking you, say, with a technical attack, which would be the green, if you use a blue, you're going to lose to that fight. Now, if you use a red, you're going to win, and so you won't take damage, and you'll damage the enemy instead. So you have to learn, like, what kind of attacks does this monster use? Because monsters tend to favor an attack. But then sometimes they'll switch things up, right? Like, they might have... they might get angry in a fight, and suddenly their attacks are different. So it just kind of depends on the monster, and so you kind of have to learn what they're interested in. But they have good UI as well to show you, like, once you've learned about the monster, you'll see like what things are, what they're weak to and stuff. And then bigger monsters, you can attack different parts of their body, right? And then you can break them like you do in Monster Hunter proper. And so a lot of those mechanics have come back down to it. It's just more streamlined in a way that is, to me, very accessible. And I feel like this Monster Hunter Stories to me feels like, do you like the world of Monster Hunter, but don't got the time to play Monster Hunter? Monster Hunter Stories! And it's like, it's great and it's really fun. And you basically, like, you have like an overworld that looks like, it's pretty big too, like Monster Hunter. And as you go through, you'll fight monsters, you'll see them roaming around, and you can get into fights with them. Sometimes they'll retreat into these dens, and so you enter dens, and then they have eggs at the end. And so basically, you get these eggs, you steal eggs from them, and like, it's funny, the stinkier and heavier an egg is, the more rare the egg is, apparently. And like that means you get like special bonuses from that monster when you open up like a more attack or something, because you can hatch them in like a bestiary, basically like a stables.
So it's like Zero, same great monsters, zero hunting. Yeah,
although you are hunting them, kind of, is the thing, because you hunt. Well, actually, no, you are hunting the animals because there's some there's something going on with a big like Rathalos, I think, from your island. There's something wrong with it, and so you're off.
So like, Diet Monster Hunter.
Yeah, it's just turn-based Monster Hunter. That's really what it is. It's turn-based where the monsters fight with you.
Okay,
it's really good. I would say, like, if you had to compare it to Pokemon, it's leagues better than the Pokemon games that are out right now. Its story is not anything really to write home about, but it's a coherent story, so I gotta give it that, you know? Like, it's actually moving me forward in the game, which is a lot more than I can say about Pokemon games these days, which is fine. You know, Pokemon's got its own thing going on, although Arceus was pretty good. Maybe I could compare it to Arceus a little bit, actually. Those are the two that have the most similar vibes. Though, man, Capcom is way more technically adept at games, because the draw distance of this is very good. It's wide open fields where like monsters are walking around all the time. Like everywhere is an open area, right, with like monsters going about their business and stuff. So anyway, I really like it. It's a perfect game to play while chilling. I've been watching a lot of horror movies this month because, you know, it's good old October, and so I've just been watching horror movies while playing Monster Hunter. It's a very strange
Combination.
I will say, like blood and guts on the screen. Then I'm like, oh, where are my monsties? But to each his own. So anyway, that's Monster Hunter. The last one I've been playing is a special one that is very close to my heart. I've been playing The Lord of the Rings: The Third Age emulated on GameCube with my good old GameCube controller on my PC here. And also, I found an HD texture pack for this. Mwah, very good. There's a little bit of jank here and there with the texture pack. Like I think it was AI upscaled, and it looks really great. Once in a while, there might be like a little tiny jittering on some like cutscenes where like a texture might like very minutely jitter a tiny bit. But I also can't tell if that was from the game itself or if it's from the texture pack. The game was well made, but it's an older game now. All right, I think it's like 2004 or something like that. It was a while ago. Actually, that might be too far. No, I don't know. I'll look it up later. But anyway, this game, I had this on my GameCube back in the day. It's a turn-based RPG for Lord of the Rings, but you're playing as basically a group of characters who are basically in parallel with the Fellowship. So like you start off, your main kind of guy is Barathor, and he's like a Gondorian soldier who came with Boromir, I think, to the Council of Elrond. And then you meet Idril, who's like an elf, and then you got there's like two other characters that you'll meet quickly afterwards. There's like a ranger, there's a dwarf, and there's more characters I think will come later. Sometimes you'll team up with the Fellowship. It depends. It's very Final Fantasy X inspired in terms of its battle system, and its battle system is actually really good. It's a really good RPG, and it's odd because I think when you think of like a Lord of the Rings game, or you think of like a licensed game, it's like, I don't know, but like this game was awesome, and there's no frills on it at all. Like it's a solid, I think, like 20 hours or so. But the way it works is that you're in kind of like maybe Final Fantasy 13-ish type areas where it's like they're fairly linear locations that you'll go through with a little bit of exploring to do. And in each of the battles, you essentially you've got like a couple different skills. Each character will have like two types of skill moves. So to give you an example, like the Barathor, the Gondorian, he'll have like swordcraft, and then he'll have leadership skills. And his leadership skills are like buffs for the party. What's interesting though is that the level up system in this is aggressive. You level up real fucking fast. Like I'm apparently 17% of the way through the game, and I'm at like level 30 or something with all my characters already, just from playing the fights. I don't think you could run away from fights either. They're like, no motherfucker, you're fighting. So maybe you can with some, but from what I tried to look to see if you could, and I was like, I don't see an option. I think you got to fight everybody, which I actually find good. It's like, what's the point of buying this game if you're not going to do that? And they don't spam you with random encounters. That's a big important thing. But okay, so your level up, it levels up your skills, like your stats, but it doesn't level up your moves. So you don't get new moves when you level up. The way you get new moves is by actually using moves in the abilities that you want. And you can actually select, you can see all the moves that you will unlock in the game, and you can select which moves you want to progress towards. Now, obviously you can't pick the last move right away, but like say you unlock, like you have a skill tree that looks like you have one skill at the top and then it branches out to 2 rows, right? When you unlock one skill in that row, you now have access to 3 skills surrounding it, and you can choose whichever one you want to build towards. And it's a really cool skill system because it actually ends up rewarding you based on the playstyle that you decide on. So you're like, okay, well, I think I want to go and do this one here, and like I'm going to use more swordcraft, and it discourages you from just constantly attacking. So it really makes you use your action points, which is like your kind of mana sort of thing. And with the aggressive level up system, you're never too far away from fully having more action points again to play with. So it feels really smartly designed. And to that point, though, young Alex, the little child, did not understand how this game worked. Had never played an RPG before, like a turn-based one like this. And I could not beat this game. I remember being stuck at Helm's Deep. I don't think I ever got past Helm's Deep in this game. Because you get there and there's big, crazy waves of fight that you have to do. And there's some fucking intense fights in this. I just got my ass kicked by the Balrog. So, like, ugh. So my mission now is to finally win. I was like, I want to defeat Lord of the Rings: The Third Age. Because I've been on a huge Lord of the Rings kick. I'm loving the Rings of Power. I'm having a great time with it. And I've just been listening to the trilogy again on audiobook. And like I've started the Middle Earth strategy battle game, like the miniatures again. I'm getting into my painting. I'm like, Lord of the Rings is back. I'm just very happy. So anyway, I really recommend this game. It's about a 22-hour RPG. Also, one beautiful little thing, all the equipment that you get, you see it on your characters and it looks beautiful. And I just fucking love when they do that, you know? Not enough games that give you, like RPGs will give you equipment and then you equip it and you're like, I guess nothing changed. But in this one, you know, pop it on like Gondor, and it's great because the Gondorian armor, it's like I get a new piece and now I have a shiny new Gondorian armor piece and I'm like, yeah, I feel better and more powerful now. And they do sorry, there's so much on this, but they do a really smart thing with your equipment. Whenever you get new equipment, it immediately shows which character it's for. When you go to the equip screen, it says new equipment. You click on it, it shows you the new equipment that you have for that character. You click on it again, and you equip it, and it has a star rating system, and that's all you have to go by. You don't have to fucking compare anything. They're just like, trust us, dude. If this has a higher star than that other piece of equipment, it's the fucking equipment you want to wear. Just put it on. You're like, yes, game, I will do that. So like, I don't know. I just love it. It's streamlined in a way that I find really compelling. And it just lets you go through. And then also, when you finish a chapter, like when you finish an area, you can go back to the main menu and you can play what's called the evil mode, where you get to do all the fights as the enemy characters. And so you get to control them and kill your characters multiple times. And when you finish that, you get a bunch of items that they then transfer to your save file that you can then access in the game. It's so cool. It's just really fun. Oh, and Ian McKellen narrates everything. There's all these scenes that use like clips from the movie, which I'm sure back in the day it was super cool to have all these movie clips, but you're like, ooh, that's some 2040p right there.
I was going to say the compression. I had that playing the Matrix Path of Neo again recently. Like, well, it's a whole thing. And also, when I played Deadpool, which was last week's episode, they've HD upgraded like the gameplay. But they had to keep the old video footage, and it's so jarring.
It is, because this is the thing. The HD textures are beautiful, and like the animation is incredible on all these characters and all the moves that they do. And then you get to the scene, and it's like, like as it very
almost inverts it, yeah.
Which I'm sure back in the day, the scenes were probably the best part, and then you get into the game, and you're like, oh, okay, fun. Anyway, I think this game is incredible. It will never be remade because it was an EA game and they lost the Lord of the Rings license. So I doubt it'll ever see the light of day again. Though I believe it deserves it because it truly is a really fun, perfectly playable game nowadays, which is not something you could say about games from the GameCube era all the time, right? You can't always say, oh yeah, you go back, you'll find no problems. I'm like, no, nothing. No problem at all with it. Anyway. That is
what a great lead in that is actually to our topic. Oh no, we've got to speak about the game of the month.
It is a good lead in.
That would have been a great transition.
I just wanted to give a quick game of the month shout out, especially since we have the leader of the game of the month, Tiamat here.
Oh yeah, right.
Organizer.
We just want to say the games that have been picked. Which you already mentioned Castlevania, right, Tiamat? So
Yes.
Which is a classic, and I think a perfect pick for this one. It's an eclectic group of games.
Yeah, I was really happy when I saw the results. It's like there's this old school 2D platformer, this 3D adventure game, and this first-person shooter game. I mean, yeah.
Because we have Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, which this might be my impetus to finally beat this game. I stopped where I always stop at this one, which is the Goron stuff. So let's see if I can beat it.
Play the game.
Yeah, just
play the side quest.
I don't like this game, but anyway, all right. That's fine. I will beat it. And then Doom 2016. I know. I'm sorry, Paula. I know it's your favorite.
Yeah.
But unless do we want to add anything to the game of the month, or are we good for the topic?
I think that's it. I mean, to be fair, like I think Castlevania is the only one I'd definitely play. I have Majora's Mask. I don't know if I'll bother. I've played Doom 2016. I might replay it, but I don't know if I'll bother.
But I think the segue.
I really want to.
Oh yeah. Go ahead, Paula.
I really want to replay Majora's Mask, But I'm currently like playing the Zelda games in order, so I
Well-
am not there yet. But I want to play so badly.
Plus, your gacha overlords aren't going to let you do that yet. You got to wait a little bit.
You can't get your dailies on the 3DS. That's not
Yeah,
how
the
that
game
works.
is on my house, and I'm not at my house, so that's
Oh,
the thing
that's
that's
true.
stopping me for real.
Your phone, however, is wherever you are.
Yes. Okay,
Yep.
so I think the segue Rick was going to hit on is that I've just been playing an extremely nostalgic game for me, which leads right into our topic, which is nostalgia in games. Is it good? Is it bad? What even is it? Yeah. I think this first question here is the perfect one. So let's start by opening the Pandora's box of this, is saying, are there any games that you feel nostalgic about, but you can't play them because you fear that the good times were just an illusion? Definitely have some of those.
I'm gonna bring the Matrix Path of Neo back up because that game is excellent, but it is quite dated when you try and play it now. The footage is one thing, but like combat, which to like 12, 13-year-old me, like going back to a PS2 from the Wii era, felt incredible. Feels a little bit clunky nowadays when I revisited it. It's a tricky one. I'm trying to think if there's anything else where I feel that way.
I've got one right away. What do you think?
Go on.
Vex.
Go on.
I was thinking about this just a while ago.
Yes, and Scalar as well. That era of like AA tier character platformers.
Which I don't know, Tiamat, if you know this one, but Vex is this like, goddamn, how do you even describe this game? It's a platform. It's a 3D platformer collectathon.
It's Crash Bandicoot going through his emo phase.
Yeah.
Okay, I've never heard of that.
It's a GameCube game. I got it as a child for my GameCube, and I played the shit out of it. And the thing
is, it was multi-plat. We had it on PS2.
Yeah, PS2 as well. Yeah. So I don't like. I'm terrified.
What the hell is this?
I know.
I've never even seen that cover before.
The cover where Vex is like, yeah, and he's got his claw hands out.
The cover's proper like DeviantArt furry nightmare.
The cover looks cool. Like it does.
This is the thing. I remember it being really fun, but I'm really afraid that is simply child Alex being like, I had such a good time with this. So I actually had this thought as I was playing the Third Age. I was like, maybe I should go back and play Vex. And I'm just like, but maybe I should leave that in my nice memory box because I got lucky with the Third Age. You know, Third Age is actually enjoyable, and I'm like, but do I want it? This guy, it's got a 68 and how long to beat. That makes me a little afraid.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's 2 games that I actually played, even though I had fear. I was scared that the good times were just an illusion. One of them being Pokemon Stadium for the Nintendo 64, and that was one of my favorite games of that time because I really liked the mini games that the game had. And each time I had a friend over, we'll usually just play those mini games and ignore the battles. Though I have to say that I remember even though the models are, well, not the polygons haven't aged well. Let's say that. The animations, on the other hand, are like way better than anything on Pokemon right now because, well, an actual like, let's say, double kick has actually a kick animation instead of a tackle animation like in the newer games. And there's still a thing that I want to do, but I'm like not sure if I want to actually, like, to go through all the game and like get all the trophies of the game because I actually have now a Pokemon Blue cartridge and I can transfer my Pokemon from Pokemon Blue to Pokemon Stadium, and I can actually get the Pokemon from Pokemon Stadium that you get as a prize for some of the stuff that you do in the game into an actual copy of the Pokemon Blue game. And that's a thing that I really want to do, but I'm scared because, first of all, these are very old games and the typings don't work as they do now. There's no special attack and special defense. There are just one stat called special, which, by the way, made a lot of Pokemon like Jolteon and Alakazam be broken as fuck. The other thing that worries me is that you cannot skip the animations, the attack animations. You have to sit there,
glorious animation, baby.
watch the animation, hear the commentator say something like, "Oh, it is super effective," or
Oh, that
"It's
just like
down, it is down," or like, what was the other line that got drilled into my head after
I was
hearing
gonna
it
say
so
I
many
had like a
times?
Pavlovian response to that. It's super
Yeah.
effective. Like it's kind of
Or is not very effective, or it is fast asleep. Which, by the way, wrap, the attack move wrap, and fire spin, and anything that put your Pokemon to sleep were broken as fuck in that time, because you cannot attack the turn that you get out of whatever status condition you are in. So they could just
Oh yeah, it was brutal.
It was brutal, it was broken, and I had so much fun with that game that I'm genuinely scared to go back to it and find out that and not have the patience for it. Because when I was a kid, it was like, oh, I have the time. I can sit through this, and I just play like, I don't know, once a week, and I guess hearing the same commentator over again over months is instead of like a lot of times in one gaming session, because now I can like just sit there and play for 3 hours without my parents nagging me about it. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a good time now that I think about it. The other game that I actually played and realized, hey, this is not as good as I remember it being, it was a visual novel. The thing about this is that this was my first Otome game, Amnesia Memories. And both the translation is not that it wasn't good, but the writing in general has been surpassed by many other visual novels that I played. So even though I have a special place in my heart for this game, I realize that it is not the best, and I would rather just leave it as it is rather than just replay it again and have my heart broken for a third time or a second time. So those are my two games that kind of like I kind of want to go back to because nostalgia, but I don't want to go back to because nostalgia.
I've got two more I want to throw into the ring. One that I feel like that about, like I think it'll be fine, but I daren't find out. And that is Transformers 2004. I believe it was multi-plat. We played it on PS2, and it was great. It was excellent at the time. Transform back and forth at any time. There were like 3 or 4 of the characters. You equipped the mini bots, and like it was third-person shooting and third-person driving. Oh, I don't know if it would stand up if I went back to it now, 18 years hence. Ooh.
Yeah.
One day I will try. One day I will try. Today is not that day. And the other one, and this might actually be quite interesting timing, given that it's again from Tiamat's childhood, and it's one interestingly that he, I think, probably looks back on quite fondly in a way that I, coming to it fresh, absolutely did not. Secret of Mana. Oh God, this game does not play well in 2022. Whatever patch you put on there, you can't see this, folks, but he's sticking his tongue out at me, which is the mature and measured response I would expect from our moderator in chief.
It's the appropriate one.
That's a good one
Like,
because
fuck is it? Yeah.
I actually had this one in mind for the topic.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, for me, basically, the whole nostalgia thing is more or less linked with the games, but more with the moments. So there's like a lot of games I remember, but I don't remember playing the games. I don't remember the games, but I remember where I played the games and why and how. And Secret of Mana was I was sick at home for like a week. I can't remember what was it for. I think I had pneumonia or something. and I was at home for a week. I was like 15 or 16 years old or something, and I just played through the game that week, like lying on the couch and just playing the game. And it was pretty much a new game back then. It was like 2 years old or something. And so when I see this game, or when I hear somebody talking about this game, I don't remember playing the game. I remember that I was sick, and I was at home. This is what comes back to me. And
Secretive
also,
manner, if you will.
yeah. And also,
or secretive new mania. I mean, the possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
Sorry, as you were.
No, Frank,
and yeah,
when you're ahead.
and that game is also what got me into more serious, I would say, RPGs. Because before that, I was like, I would see my friends play Final Fantasy. Well, we called it Final Fantasy 2, but it was like Final Fantasy 4. I did not get it. I mean, for me, it was all the menus. All I could see were menus, and I just didn't get it. But then I played Secret of Mana, and it was like, okay, this is for me.
Gateway drug,
And
I get that.
yeah, and then that got me into the PlayStation and all those like late '90s RPGs. So yeah, that's what I get from that game, especially is the moment.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, because what you're hitting on, for me, it does feel like there are two types of, at least personally, two types of nostalgia, right? Like what you're talking about, which is like the situational nostalgia, the in that
Yep.
moment, that thing that happened. And then there is sometimes like actual nostalgia for like gameplay that I enjoyed, which in those cases, I've had like really satisfying returns to games. Like I think I replayed Golden Sun a while back, and I was like, that was actually great. That was actually a good game. Oh, okay. My memories of it was actually because I enjoyed the game, right? Versus like some specific time. But then I think what's interesting is like, because the other question we had here is, are there any current games that you think you'll feel nostalgic towards in 20, 30 years? And when you're mentioning
Yeah.
the being sick, it's like, I think for me, all the games that I played, or at least a lot of the games that I played during the lockdowns and the pandemic, are going to hold major nostalgic feelings for me, especially because I played a lot of them with my partner. Like I'm thinking, like we played the Halo series together, already huge. Like I already had slight nostalgic. I had major nostalgia for Halo 3 because I played that with my buddies back in high school. But now I've got huge nostalgia for that. Fall Guys, that was huge. We played through Silent Hill, Shattered Memories, and Silent Hill 2. We were just talking about them the other day, how much we loved that. And then both Last of Us and Last of Us Part 2. Like these are games that we played together. And like in this period of time where it was just like, it was so weird, right? It was such an out of time moment. And I got to just kind of sit with my partner and we just kind of played shit together. And it was like, and now I think about it, I'm like, I'm already kind of nostalgic, but like nostalgic of the moment, not really, you know what I mean? Like, anyway, I know in 20 years,
I know
I'll
exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Literally a couple of weeks ago, I was having this conversation with a couple of friends who we'd played Warzone through like pandemic 1, as it were, like that March through sort of August period. And there's already a nostalgia there, like 2 years out. And reading the question on the agenda, I definitely haven't thought about it that way, but I think often the nostalgia is pinned to the place and the time as much as the media as well. Same as music and books and things like that as well. Like if you have, a specific summer read that you had on a particular holiday, like those memories are tied together in that way. I think in terms of like nostalgia going forward, I think there's going to be like probably a nostalgia for some of the FPS campaigns, like the Resistances and the Call of Duties, because that kind of game is kind of dying out. That 4 to 6 hour blitz, like you're either playing a big FPS campaign like a Metro or a Doom, or you've got the online only component really. The story campaigns are still there, but they're not the same novelty or spectacle as they were back in that sort of late era.
I mean, I was hit by that clearly. I replayed the Call of Duty 4 remastered, right? Because I was like, I remember this. I remember.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
But I also think like we're probably in a weird position where podcast wise, there's been particular moments like 12 minutes when you event like that. There's a specific nostalgia of like the therapy session that we all collectively went through for that. And yeah, games that we've all talked about. I think It Takes Two is a particular one for that as well, where like you have specific memories with whoever you played it with. I'm rambling. I don't really have a particular answer for this question. Someone take this off me, please.
Well, yeah, coming back to moments, I mean, that's really what I remember from when I was a kid. I'm looking at my library of games and I'm like, okay, my memories of Super Mario Brothers 3 is not about, I can't remember much of the game or when I beat it or anything like that. I remember two things. I remember that, well, since back then we couldn't save the game, we couldn't quit the game. I had to let the NES turned on like for days, and I can't remember. I think I was sorry. I think I was at like a 6th or 7th world or something, and then my mom was just vacuuming in the house, and the head of the vacuum cleaner just barely touched the power button of the NES, and it just turned off. So I remember that stuff, which is kind of funny. And I remember in the late 90s, I won those, I think the earliest versions of like esports or something. There was like this during spring break when our city was organizing like activities and stuff for the young kids. And it was like this Mario 3 contest where you had to do as many points as you could within 3 minutes, I think. And I actually came in first place 2 years in a row. So I remember like grinding those first 4 levels for months, knowing there would be that contest. So I would just play and play and play and play those first 3 to 4 levels with my stopwatch for 3 minutes to see how many points I could get, and start again and again and again and again until like I had this perfect run. So I remember that. I remember Super Castlevania 4, which is a very early Super Nintendo game. We got it, and sorry. So we went to our to my grandma's place with our console, and while the adults were playing cards upstairs during like Christmas or something, my cousin and I were playing that game in the basement. You know, so I can't remember like getting the game, completing the game, playing the game, but I remember that I was at my grandma's place for Christmas that year in 1991, playing that game with my cousin. So, you know, all those things come back to me, and you know, I've got so many like weird memories, like Super Metroid when it came out. My dad and I would play like nonstop, and I remember the first time we beat it was like 24 hours completion time. Back when we didn't have internet, we didn't have guides, like there was like no such thing. So I remember it was roughly 24 hours. I remember when Link to the Past came out, and like 3 to 6 months later, it came out in French. I think it was the very first game that got a French release.
Shit.
As far as I can remember in North America. So I remember getting that and playing a video game in French was special. And you know, for me, that's what it is. I mean, yes, there's this like, yeah, I was a kid and I've got all these fun times, but I've played so many games in the past like 35 years that I can't remember many of them, but I remember like specific like memory timestamps or something. So yeah,
it's neat too, because sometimes when you play one of those games, like I have had this happen when I played The Third Age, I suddenly remember some things are like moments from when I'm playing it. When I played it, I was like, "Oh yeah, this," and I'm like, "Right," and then I'm like, it's like it shoots me back a little bit. It can have that kind of reverse effect sometimes, right? Sometimes you learn, "Oh, I didn't give a shit about this game. It's just the memories like you're talking about." But then other times you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I remember now."
Yeah, there's so many things like that. Or sometimes there is well, the example that came to mind was that DuckTales remastered. I played a lot of that game when I was a kid, like the original one. And when the remastered came out, I was like, "Oh, should I play this? Will it like ruin everything? Will it be good?" Well, it turns out it's a very good remastered. First of all, it's very fun. It's very accurate. They really went with the original vibe, the original level design, the original music. So when I played this, like all the memories from me playing the NES one, like came back.
Nice.
This, yeah. So like or I don't know. I also have some memories of discovering something. Like I've got very like vivid memories, like nostalgic memories of playing the first Assassin's Creed game, which was only like in 2017. So I waited like 10 years before even touching that franchise. And then I was like, okay, I should try it. And it was such a great discovery that whenever I think of that franchise now, it's hard not to think about very specific missions of the first game, because these were the ones that stuck to me because I was discovering something completely new and different that I had never played like this type of game before. Same goes for God of War, which I played on the PS2 for the first time in like 2015, which it's like over 10 years after release date. And then again, I've played the second one. I've seen the other ones and stuff, but when I think about God of War, I have like very clear memories of some specific parts of some levels from the first game because I was discovering something new. So my nostalgia from these games does not come from playing the game. It comes from the feeling I had playing these games.
Well, I think that's what really nostalgia is, right? It's like it's an
Yeah.
emotional reaction. It's it's whatever. Because I don't know. Anyway, sorry. This is like kind of weirdy sciencey stuff, but in general, like from what they understand at this point, still obviously a lot we don't know about memory, but that like humans in general, we remember things that impacted us intensely emotionally, right? Like that tends to be why you have better, stronger memories, which is also why, fun fact, because I've done a lot of research on this shit, depression in general, a lot of people have a hard time remembering memories because in general, depression is a flattening of emotion, right? So oftentimes through depressive states, you have a really hard time remembering things because in fact, you're not making very intense memories. So there's a little fun thing for you.
Yeah.
But we imagine childhood emotions are really strong, right? Like, I mean, you have huge emotions throughout childhood. So I feel like it like kind of hits hard. And now as I'm getting older, suddenly I'm also getting more emotions now too. I don't know. Maybe I'm just healthier as a human being.
Yeah.
Who can say?
Nice little dig there. Paula, did you want to add anything on this one before we get to
I was trying to think I was trying to think which games would I feel nostalgic about in 20, 30 years. And again, it comes down to what the emotion around the game was, where I was at the time, or like who I shared the experience with. Because definitely for me it would be Breath of the Wild, one of the big ones. Because first of all, I got the Switch on release day, and I went very early with my boyfriend to pick up the Switch with all the Zelda goodies at that time, because of course I had to get all the amiibos that released at the time and the art book, and I don't even want to know how much money I spent that way. But anyway, I I went to the Zetamart store that day, there was a huge queue of people just wanting to play Zelda, and everyone was talking about like, hey, what is it gonna be like? Trying to imagine how the experience was gonna be, and taking pictures and just having fun on the game. And then, like, coming back home and finally having the game and the new system in my hands was like almost like magic in a way. And even now, when I just would up Zelda to play like a challenge with my boyfriend or a challenge with my nephew, or like when my nephew was just starting to play the game and he was like telling me all about these discoveries he was making. Like all those memories are the ones that are gonna stick the most. Besides like a couple of cool details about the game, but those are just like me being nerdy. And yeah, that's the thing that I feel that it's gonna stick the most, as well as where I'm trying to think, well, which visual novels I'm gonna feel nostalgic about. First of all, Steins Gate was the first visual novel I ever played, and of course, like the the like the three Otome games that I feel like gush about the most that are Code Realized, Cafe Enchanté, and Cupid Parasite. Again, those games are the ones that evoke the most emotion out of me, and the games that I share the most with other people, especially Cafe Enchanté, because it is almost a ritual that each time anyone over on Twitter starts a game, everyone subscribes and just like watch them like tweet and fall into the abyss of emotion that is a Cafe Enchanté. So yeah, emotion plays a big role on nostalgia.
Nice. Well, I think we should, because we've already gone very long on here. So I think we should move on to our next little segment here, which is Guess the Game, which is welcome to Guess the Game, where the aim of the game is to guess the guess game. So, Tiamat, if you want to share us, so I believe it's been a while since we've done this, so I think it's the reviews, right?
Yeah, I think it's what is it again? It's just try to make you guess a game based on
The How Long to Beat reviews, I think, is yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Let's
And you tell us the times as well, the main plus and 100%.
Right, that is actually super useful.
Okay. Sure. Okay. Actually, why don't we like? It would be fun. Like whoever wins this gets like 2 extra points for the How Long to Beat the Game.
Ooh.
No.
Okay,
Like,
you know what?
raise
No,
the stakes.
I'm fine with that.
No?
You should at least get maybe a point. I think that's fair. That's fine.
I think a point. Yeah, let's make it a
Whoever
point.
wins gets a
Point,
point.
yeah.
I'm cool with that because Rick is really good at
Yeah.
this, so we might just be giving Rick a point. But but I'm cool with that. I like that.
Points. Why not all the points?
Raise the stakes a
Infinity
little
points.
bit because 1 point's not going to change everything, but it's a good one. So let's do
But
that.
it could change everything.
Yeah, it could. You never know. You never know.
Okay, so main story 3.5 hours.
Ooh, okay.
Main plus extras 4 hours. Completionist 4 hours.
Okay.
So 3.5, 4, and 4.
Mm-hmm.
And let's hit the reviews and see. I don't think it's gonna be that hard though.
Okay, well let's find out.
Okay. What a weird game. If you like vertical, okay, yeah. What a weird game. If you like vertical, side-scrolling platformer / dungeon exploration / shmup games, then I guess this is it. The game is great aside from every dungeon stage.
Oh my god.
Oh, is it Shovel? No, it can't be Shovel Knight Dig. Surely not.
No. Okay, next one.
No.
This game has some interesting ideas for an early action adventure title, but it is very heavily based around RNG elements in nearly all aspects of the game. Enemy attacks, enemy spawn points, enemy projectile trajectory, bonus rooms, etc. And the base mechanics aren't terribly interesting.
Shit, this is an old adventure game.
Okay, next one.
Is it...
Oh.
what's the name of it?
Is it King's Quest IV: The Perils of Brazil?
No, it's not.
Was it Ghosts and Goblins or something like that?
No, that's
No,
not
it's
Ghosts and
not.
Goblins.
No.
How dare you? That's my
No.
favorite game.
Oh, sorry.
Imagine.
That's so
I
wrong.
think that'd be minus a point for Alex if that got caught.
Yeah.
Okay, next one.
There you go.
Meh, it's all right, I guess. Quote unquote.
Enlightening. No,
What?
sorry. I thought that was it. That's why I was being sorry. Sorry, you keep going, Tiamat. Ignore me.
Meh, it's all right, I guess. Quote unquote game title has some interesting ideas that come far too late into the game for me to care much about them. Aside from the brutality, unfair first hour, the rest of the game feels fairly manageable. The music is great and the game controls mostly well. However, there are two things that get in the way of me enjoying this game. Firstly, the game is slow, really, really slow. It is, in fact, so slow that I encourage anyone interested playing this to emulate it, as it will allow you to fast forward the certain sections of monotony and boredom that you'd be otherwise forced to deal with. I'd be willing to forgive it if the platforming wasn't built into a quote unquote protagonist name, controlling and moving at a much faster pace than the game allows.
Is it?
Second,
Castlevania.
Is it Blaster Master?
no.
No. Okay. That protagonist being faster threw me. Sorry. Go on.
Secondly, the game suddenly decides it wants to be entirely different. It wants to be an entirely different game once you hit the dungeon levels. Take all the previous issues of boring and slow gameplay and combine
Zelda
them
2.
with
No.
no.
It's too long.
No.
That
I
is
thought
a much
about that
longer
too.
game.
Yeah, and not
Yeah,
vertical. Sorry.
The vertical thing is throwing me.
Yeah. Secondly, the game suddenly decides it wants to be an entirely different game once you hit the dungeon levels. Take all the previous issues of boring and slow gameplay and combine them with labyrinth-like maps that are extremely confusing to navigate. It felt nigh impossible to get through these sections without consulting a guide, which should never be the case. Just play, insert a sequel name instead. This game is only worth it for novelty's sake, nothing more.
Is it the original Kid Icarus?
Yes!
Oh, well done, Paula.
Oh,
1 point to Paula.
Oh.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
Kid Icarus. That's genius. God damn. Okay.
no,
Wow.
vertical.
Yeah,
I
'cause you're
suppose,
shooting the-
kind of, yeah.
you do
you're
the
moving
weird shooter.
upwards.
Original Kid Icarus.
Okay.
Good job, Paula. That's well done. Now that
Oh
you
my
say- I was on the
God.
totally wrong area because I got stuck on the adventure game stuff, which this is an action game, I'd say. So that reviewer, excuse me, but damn, that was a good one. Okay.
I've put your extra point into like next episode's agenda, Paula. So you've got your point.
Okay, I put it down here on our agenda too, just to pop it in there. But that's a good idea. Since
I've already done it, so that's on.
perfect.
It's 4, 7, 8 now for Alex, Paula, and myself, respectively.
All right. Well, now that means it's time for Shoutout to beat the game. What we'll do for this, basically, you'll all play, but like between Rick and Paolo, whoever gets the, you'll win. So this will be a normal episode. But Tiamat can have bonus points if you manage to
Playing for
defeat.
pride, yeah.
Exactly. So here's what we'll do. Since it's my turn this week, right? I believe.
Yes.
Yes, perfect. All right, I am going to hit the randomizer here. Okay, here we go. This is good. Tokyo Jungle on the PS3.
Do you know what? I almost started playing this the other day. I've got my
You've played
PS3
every
stuff.
game, no
Oh,
debate.
yeah.
I haven't. I've got it installed, and I thought I was going to be stuck in bed for 6 weeks for reasons that are irrelevant to this podcast.
This is
But yeah,
sorry. What was the question, Paula?
Is Tokyo Jungle in the PS2, you said?
PS3.
PS3, okay.
Yeah, this is a PS3 game. So yeah, I need main plus completionist, and then I would also like you to tell me.
What is this game about?
Well, humans disappeared from Tokyo all of a sudden, leaving the animals to fend for themselves. Play the game as
it's the one
various
where the
animals in
Pomeranian's
this
like the main character.
apocalyptic scene. Yeah. You had
Yeah, it looks like a
Yeah, I actually
very
know this
early,
game.
like very early PS3 game.
yeah. It was.
It's fun fact.
No,
There is
no,
like a
sorry.
PS. There's a PS Mobile
I think it's
like
a late
turn-based
PS3 game.
strategy of
Yeah,
this
yeah.
game that's like lost to time because PS Mobile no longer exists as a thing unless you're hacking. It's supposed to be quite good. I'm still trying to get it to work on my Vita, but yeah.
Okay, so I think what I would like for the bonus points here, I would like to do this again. I would like you to tell me what genre this is on How Long to Beat.
Oh,
Oof,
And there
okay.
are
How
there
many-
are
how
two.
many?
This
I need you to
again.
give me 2 genres for this. I love this one
Okay.
because this one is fun. Whoever gets closest wins it.
Okay, so actually, I had never heard of this game before. Let's see.
Yeah, I know it's tough. And Tiamat, you can just send me yours through like a private message on Discord.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Okay, so
mine have
it's
all gone
late.
over.
So late PS3 game.
Digital only? No, not digital only. There was a disc.
No, this is this was
Version.
a full release. Yeah,
Although I think the
Um,
disc run was pretty limited because it's quite hard to find that way.
I believe so. I'm sure it was much more in Japan. I think it was quite limited outside of Japan.
Yeah.
It's still the era where they felt like, Japanese games, they're like, I don't know. There was that like, will they sell? Which, yeah, they will. Though this one is pretty niche, all things told.
Yeah, it's relatively niche.
I don't think it was
To give-
particularly
Fine.
amazing either. I think it was okay, but I don't think it was like
Yeah, I
groundbreaking.
think Fine TM is probably like on the nose.
Yeah.
okay, let's see.
I know it's tough. It's tough. I like the genre. What?
Go on, sorry. Go
I
ahead.
was gonna say I like doing genre stuff just because you really have to like remember like what are the genres on How Long to Beat.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. That's the
Um,
bit I'm not feeling confident on. I'm quietly confident on the times because I looked at them a week ago.
Yeah.
But this will shock you. I didn't make a point of like remembering what the genre tags were.
yeah. Let's see.
Okay, what do we think?
I'm all whatever. Okay, let's go.
Nice. All right,
There
you got
you go,
it.
Alex.
And Paula just got them at the same
It's
time too.
Alex, right? Yeah.
Yes, you sent it to me. Okay, here we go. So we're gonna start off with main story. So what we have here, Paula has said 12 hours. Tiamat has said 8 hours. And Rick has said 15 hours. And the time is 15 and a half hours.
Oh.
Well done there, Rick. You can get that one. So Rick gets 1 point for that. So we'll pop that up there. Next, we got main plus. So Rick has said 21 hours. Tiamat has said 14 hours. And Paula has said 23 hours. And Rick is directly on the money. It is 21 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Another point for Rick. Looks like this might end up being a sweep. We'll see. Okay.
Yeah, it feels a bit dirty already. I don't feel good. I don't feel good about this one.
Next, we have 100%, which Tiamat has said 17 hours. Paula has said 25 hours. And Rick has said 22 hours. And it is, in fact, 21 and a half hours. So, Rick, you get another one there. Clean sweep on the times here for Rick. Okay.
Yeah.
Come on,
So,
need to recover.
I know. Now, this is the big one, though.
You could, yeah. This
And
is the
I'll
thing.
give you a spoiler warning. You did not win this one, Rick. Rick has said platformer and survival. Okay. Tiamat has said action, science fiction. And Paula has said action, survival. And it is indeed action, survival. Which means Paula
that's where
has
I'd get caught. I
taken
knew
2
it.
more points. So with that 1 extra point that Paula got, now this is a competition, I'd say, between Rick and Paula. Rick is sitting at 11 points. Paula's at 9 points. I'm at 4. I could maybe come back if I sweep the next 2, but it's not looking good for me right now.
It needs to be a couple of like Hail Mary results.
I need to genuinely just like sweep through the next little bit, but that's not fine. I don't mind because we're playing Resident Evil 2 this month, so I'm happy. That's it for this episode of How Long to Beat. Thank you so much for joining us, Tiamat. This has been wonderful
Yeah.
to get to chat with you.
Finally.
I know,
Right?
finally. We made it happen.
Yeah.
And we have lots of guests coming in actually over the next few months here. I know we haven't had many in a while, and it's because we just get so busy and then we don't know who wants to come on. So if you want to come on the podcast, send us a line. We might not respond right away, but we promise we see it.
What I will say is, if you are smashing the like button, your chances of getting on do increase. So, yeah.
That's it for now.
If you-
Toodaloo.
Bye.